Take it, take it, take it, take it, take it with me home. Take it, take it, take it, take it, take it with me home. Take it lit, take a hit, take it with me home. Take it semi-automatic, drink it from my home. Take it, take it, take it, take it, take it with me home. Shooting up my grandma's kitchen cause you.
All right, everyone, welcome to another Buzz Slayers interview. Today and slash tonight for you, we have Dahlia Dumont. Welcome and thank you so much for coming.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I love it. I love it. So there's a lot to talk about in terms of your upcoming release. You have a couple of singles actually releasing prior to the record. I was introduced to your stuff with what was the song? It was a Semi-Automatic Trinket. Take It.
Okay.
That was okay. So that was like my introduction. Okay. So like imagine that, right? So so just for everyone who's watching this now, I believe that one's already out.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That one's out and it's got a nutso video. I loved the video.
Thank you so much.
It was so well done and there was so much thought behind it. And that song's got heavy messaging behind it too. And a lot of your songs have that. So the Semi-Automatic Trinket, Take It is a song that incorporates a lot of different cultural attributes and heavy messaging. But it also just musically is intense. It's like this single is from a record called Fantasia, which is not coming out until April, I believe. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I got to listen. So I'm lucky enough to get to listen to the whole album. And this is what I'm going to say, just right up front. This was one of the most brilliant mixtures of not only instrumentation, but approaches and styles. And there's no two songs that are the same.
No.
It is electro pop, theatrical. The whole thing is theatrical. It's a very theatrical record. And I know that was purposely done. That aesthetic is super solid. So much instrumentation, contemporary pop, jazz, rapping, hyper pop, experimental. There's just so much going on that even just Semi-Automatic Trinket, like the first time you watch the video, you just want to start it right over. You're just like, what? Hold on. You got to go back and because there's so much, there's a lot squeezed into a small space, with that particular song. Not all the songs are like that. But I personally, Fantasia, the title track of the record was one of my favorites because that was like disco, like funk, so one of my first questions would have to be like, first of all, how long did this take you to put together? And also, how did you get all these players to be a part of your, I'm sorry for this question.
No, okay. So this album has, believe it or not, been in the making since the COVID era.
Wow.
Yeah, but what happened was I had previously put out independently 2 albums and 4 singles. I always have been an eclectic artist, so even my previous albums also do a grand mixture of genres and lots of instrumentation. But I started writing songs in a new style, something I was feeling more and leaning more towards, specifically soul, sort of a more vocal based and less instrument based. And this all coincided with having a random gig that was like this nothing gig that was like a last minute addition to a tour because we had a cancellation that, just the kind of gig you're like, it's not great conditions, but whatever, let's just do it and have a good time in a bar, and someone saw us in the bar and put us in touch with someone who has his own record label and was like, here, I'm here for you, blank check, like let's make a new album. And he also wanted to fix up some of my older stuff. So that process started. The process of writing these songs started back in COVID time. And then that process of like getting together with this label took another 2 years to really get going. And then once we really got going, from the first time that we started recording these songs, the ones that you hear today to today, that was also about 2 years. it was
Wow.
it's just been a gigantic adventure with lots of ups and some downs. And in terms of the instrumentation, it was a big marriage because I was able to work with a budget for the first time in my life. I got a producer on with me to help me steer the style because I wanted something more mainstream, something a little more contemporary. I was always very much into the folk and trad sort of groove style, and I wanted something to be a little bit more mainstream. And so I brought this guy on, and he brought in a lot of artists who I had never met. And then also I wanted to use the same people that I've been working with all these years, including people from the Paris band and from the New York band. So
Right.
the fact that like I had my family and he had his people, this album is truly a gigantic collaboration.
Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah.
So Ron, you met Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Ron's really cool. He seems like a really cool guy.
He's awesome.
That's what an incredible story. So it was like a last minute kind of like sidebar gig. And then all of a sudden that turned into a life, almost like a life-changing thing for you
Absolutely.
and your music career. That's incredible. Wow. How much of a hand did, how did, let's talk about the semi-automatic trinket video, because that was just a crazy video. How did you, how long did that take to put together? Was that like one or a couple of days of shooting, or how did that come to, because there's a lot happening in the video. There's a lot of guns and there's a lot of craziness and like the classroom and the outside shots. And how did all that come together? That must have taken a bit.
Well, it was pretty magical actually, because, well, I had all these ideas, and then the director who I've been working with on all my music videos, a guy named Matthew Maestracci, and also he is sort of a partner in crime who works a lot with us, Laetitia Bone. She and him had their ideas, and I had my ideas, and we went back and forth a lot, and we finally came up with some cool stuff. And I had figured out a way to get into these awesome spaces to film, and then literally like not even a week before the filming date, the city that was going to set up all of these, the city that I currently live in, that was going to set up all these amazing spaces, I'm talking like a castle and things like that, they just pulled the plug from under us. And I quote, the woman said, "Oh, but this is just a crappy subject. We don't want to support this." So I was like, "Oh no."
Wow, you're kidding me.
It was a municipality, so I think that they were like concerned with the message and
I get it. Okay.
right. So we had to totally revamp everything, and one by one we had to reschedule, but only for another week or two later. And one by one things just kept falling in. For example, we had a bunch of actors in this music video, if you saw, and I would say 95% of them, something happened the night before where one of them was sick, one of them, the train got delayed, they couldn't get to Paris in time. It was just like one by one they were dropping like flies. And then I would go and find more actors, because there's a website here where you can find people who are wanting to be a part of these projects. And quickly going through these resumes, and I found 95% of these actors the night before, and they were just perfect. They were just wonderful. So everything just sort of fell into place. And the hodgepodge of ideas was really a result of what I was passionate about using, what they were passionate about using. They originally wanted to get a bunch of people dressed up as kind of a country leaders in a sort of caricature-like way, and have them play poker or whatnot. But I was concerned that I didn't want it to be any one country, any one person. I want, Trump at the table. I wanted it to be more general, more vague. So that's why we came up with, and also we used what we had. We had that cool basement to do the poker game.
So you're in Paris right now, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in a little suburb of Paris called Saint-Ouen, like Saint-Ouen, and it's touching Paris. The metro still comes here, but it's technically not Paris. And I'm proud to say I'm from here because it's kind of like the Brooklyn of Paris.
I was gonna ask. I was gonna guess if you're from there or if you're from New York. I know you kind of go back and forth, right?
I am from Brooklyn, born and raised. I just
Oh,
moved here in 2018. Yeah,
oh, wow. So how do you like? Is it like a lot different, or is it still kind of the same?
so different, so
Yeah,
different. Yeah, I mean, everything is different, and in some ways it's good, in some ways it's bad, and
sure.
but I've had a lot of personal and professional reasons for wanting to move here, but I definitely miss New York constantly.
Yeah, yeah. I'm from New York myself. I've got
Oh,
family. Yeah, I
really?
have family in Park Slope and stuff.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm from Long Island. I'm like Long Island dude, but
Okay.
I'm in Vegas now. I've been on the West Coast for half my life now. Um, but I digress. It's not about me. So, but what about while you're in Paris and stuff, like how is it the live performance aspect of things? Do you play a lot of shows or?
I have over these past few years played loads of shows. Paris is a funky town. It is hard to make good money from gigging regularly in Paris.
Mm,
There's like a pretty decent jazz scene that's pretty active, and there is like a bar scene that can be fun if you're just looking for some live music in the background. And
mm,
then there's the big theaters, for big events, and the big and mid-sized theaters, they'll have like a lot of boats that have theaters and stuff. So
ooh,
you can organize shows, but if you are a working musician and you need to make real money, you actually need to leave Paris. If you're doing original music,
mm,
you need to leave Paris, and you need to hit up the cultural centers and the municipal centers all over the country and tour a lot. So I've been doing a
wow,
mixture of both. I've been doing a lot of Paris shows over the years, a lot of all over the country kind of. So I even went to Belgium recently, and I'm going back. Um, yeah, people are on the move here because things are a lot closer together. So
mm.
it sounds, bigger than it is, actually. It sounds like a bigger deal than it is.
But so this has been done for a little bit, I mean, all the songs are mixed and mastered. It's coming out in April, right? So everything is done and done. So have you been, are you working on anything else? And also secondary follow-up question to that is, if you are, do you have like a little home thing that you do scratch tracks with and stuff like that, ideas?
The first answer is there. I guess you could call them like little ghosts in my head, and in my phone, and on my 20 notebooks that are like flung all over the piano. I
Yeah.
have these like ghosts that have been nagging me and haunting me because this process has been going on so long. And earlier I said there were some downs. This is one of the downs, is that because I was reliant on so many other people in this process, since I wasn't independent anymore, it took a lot longer than I had thought. And I have felt a little stunted in terms of my creativity
Mm,
until this project is completely signed, sealed, delivered, and behind me. So I don't think I'm going to start to seriously dive into all of these ghosts that I have waiting in the sidelines until it's out. But I have so many, and I know that is the most fun moment of the process, is the creating time. And so I just can't wait. And there isn't something very solid that exists today, but it's coming. And the second answer is, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't have great home studio material. I have been lucky enough to always have the possibility of going into professional studios, even if they're just home studios, but a professional level. And so, but I am thinking about moving into the countryside. And once I do that, I'm definitely setting up a good home studio to be more independent.
if you're going to perform live, I'm sure you love it, but do you love the recording process and the writing process more? Which is more
Mm. Um, if you had asked me that question before this album, my answer would have been different. Today, I would say that what my soul is needing is that creating process, that
Yes.
sort of one-on-one, or with a very trusted arranger, friend, person that kind of vibe, working together. That's what I'm needing the most right now. Definitely throughout my musical career, the live has been the pinnacle. Always the best thing is when you get the good gigs and the tour and you get to be
Yeah.
with the band that you love and you call brothers and sisters, and that is so fun. But my life has changed a little bit. I have a young baby, and it's
Congrats.
oh, thank you. Thank you. And it's been really hard to, like I said, gig with enough income to make the musicians happy around where I live. So it always takes a gigantic amount of work to find the gig, book the gig, organize the tour. That's always been 100% on my shoulders, despite how amazing this label has been producing the album and whatnot. It doesn't get involved in the touring or the live process
Yeah.
whatsoever. That's still completely on my shoulders, and I've always booked both in the US and in France. So it's so much work that, not that I don't want to go back live as much as I used to, but I'm just needing a break from that administrative process and, the 100 emails that go out for the one gig you get, that whole process. I'm a little bit, I need a break. And the recording in the studio, honestly, I used to feel like I was in some sort of divine haven when I was in the studio. That is a beautiful place to be for an artist, really. I mean, but I did have some frustrations with this project because I was working with some people that it wasn't really my choice, and they were sort of brought into the project because I was no longer independent. The energy wasn't the same. Sometimes the pressure was on in a way that took away the pleasure. So I'm not saying anyone was wrong or right. The album is it is what it is. It's an intense project that, I think everyone is pretty proud of, but it took a lot of, blood and tears and sweat and all that kind of stuff. And some choices were not my own. So I think I need as well a new beginning to find the love of the studio again. That's just to answer you.
Are there any other videos that are coming up for this record?
Yeah, so actually we released a song in between Take It and the one that's coming out. You mentioned Stalker. We released a song called Consent. I don't know if
yeah.
yeah. So that video just came out on Valentine's Day, and Stalker is also going to be having a video come out, which we just shot like 2 weeks ago. So that's coming out after so Consent just came out. Stalker's coming out just after the song comes out. And then there's a possibility that we're going to release a final video for the song called Crossing to Brooklyn. But it's not sure yet. And then there's a video that came out before Take It for a voting song that came out for the elections called Betty 2.
I wanted to ask you, and this is a tough one, okay? And, just take your time with it. Not everyone loves this question, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay.
All right. So if I were going to ask you what your top 5 heaviest, biggest musical influences of your life. Yeah. See, I know. See, there goes the hand. I'm sorry. But, you don't have, you don't have to narrow it down. Just, give me some, like, how did it start for you as an artist? Like, when, you don't even have to go into influences yet. Just tell me how old were you? Like, what happened? Did your mom play Beatles records or something when you were a kid? And then you were like, oh, did you grow up in a musical family? Like, what's going on there? When did this all kick in for you? You're like, I'm in love with this. What happened?
It's true that my father always played classical piano. Wow. And I was the youngest of 3 kids, and I was the only one who seemed to really enjoy it. He would play, and I would just sit there on the couch listening to him. It really touched me in a way that it didn't touch my brother or sister. I would listen to him, and then I would start learning piano. I did take some lessons growing up, but I mostly just taught myself stuff. And I would learn my favorite songs. I would learn like the Titanic theme song on the piano. And
awesome.
And then slowly, I started, I think I always was a writer, like a poet. So I would write, and then slowly these poems became, I put them to melodies, music, and I would find little chords to play on the piano to accompany myself. But I was still very young at this time. When I was about 17, I started to go out into the city because, as you know, I grew up in New York. I had a cousin who was in her 30s who had a bunch of friends who were in their 30s, and they were all musicians, and they were all hanging out on the Lower East Side doing all the dive bar gigs, including Regina Spektor, Nora Jones. Like these were their friends. So I got to see these artists playing on, you know, out of tune pianos in like a dive bar. And, you know, speaking of influences, I mean, Regina Spektor. And when I say Regina Spektor, I enjoy her music. I enjoy the music that most people know, that you go on Spotify and you can hear.
Yeah.
She only recently started releasing her older music, and that was the music I heard. And you know, albums like 1111 or Songs, these are now available on Spotify, but they were not for the longest time. When she became famous, something about her production, they wanted her to be more mainstream, be more this, so you couldn't hear the older stuff, but that was the heart-wrenching singer-songwriter, gorgeous playing, gorgeous voice, original lyrics, just unique in every way. I was so moved by her boldness in lyrics and just thinking outside of the box and making it just so beautiful and poignant. So she's definitely a huge influence. So that's what I was doing when I was 17, hanging out, watching these guys live.
Wow.
And yeah. And then I went off to like college and was doing the jazz band and stuff like that, but I never took music that seriously to study it. And it wasn't until my very early 20s, I had a lot of shit go down, and I was under a lot of pressure, and it pushed me into doing music full time. I was actually a nurse. I had my RN, and I was like, that's it. I'm going to do nursing part-time and really focus on music.
Right.
So that was the beginning. And I found a couple of jazz cats and other people around the city who I'd listened to, and I asked them if they wanted to be my band, and that was the beginning of my project.
So where did it start? It started with Dad playing amazing. So good. So we got Regina Spektor. So that's a big one, and we know why. So give me a few more big ones that were like, you know, really influential for you.
Well, Janis Joplin.
Woo!
Yeah, I like her.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of similar to Gwen Stefani, which would be another one. The two of them sort of hit me for the same reasons. Well, I mean, the main reason is their energy, their badassness on stage, and their ability to turn what would otherwise be considered yelling into music and art, and just make it so beautiful and groovy, you know, like just
lyrically, you have a lot to say in your songs. You can get very descriptive, very detailed, and not just semi-automatic trinkets, but you know, a lot of your songs you get very detailed and stuff like that. And there are songs where, you know, you can definitely let some you know, some of that inner thought kind of spill out. And it's, you know, there are certain tracks on the record where you listen to and you go, oh, maybe this was like cathartic for her to, you know, kind of like write and release, and other songs where you're like, oh, she just needed to just get that out, you know, or oh, she's angry about this one, let's just, you know. So it's kind of like, you know, each song is its own character. That's kind of what I'm trying to say, is like each of the songs have like a character that's adapted, but each of those is a little bit of a piece of you in there. And I think that's part of what makes the record so interesting. Thank you so much for doing this again. I super appreciate it. I know it's later at night. I mean, I don't know how you're doing this with the baby. It's like, you know, I tell you how much I appreciate you taking your time out.
They know who's on the throne. Take it